So you heard this morning about the critical need to bring as much diversity as possible to our conversations. Without diversity, we are blind. And very often, we can use the ideas, the insights, the mindset of people who come from very different disciplines than ours, to progress, to understand change, and to adapt and change accordingly. So I think you're going to be surprised by our next speaker, who comes from Brazil. It's my great pleasure to introduce Roджер Գրեյսի. Roger has a phenomenal background, which we are going to investigate in terms of what it can generate in terms of insight, understanding for all of us. Roger's come from Brazil, as I said, and is a 10 times world champion of jiu-jitsu, and particularly in mixed martial arts, which is a tremendous achievement just by itself. So, Roger, can you share a few words about yourself, who you are, how you came to jiu-jitsu, and what it means to you? And we'll try to find the video in the meantime.
Okay. So, first, it's a great pleasure being here, Thierry. Thank you, Mr. President. And so, to talk about a little bit about myself, I don't know if people are aware of the Gracie family. My family it created a revolution into the martial arts world. And it all started with my grandfather many years ago, when he learned jiu-jitsu from this Japanese that came to establish himself in Brazil. And I think what my family did to the art, they changed in a way that was a lot more passive. They took all the aggression of fighting, because they were all very small. I know when I tell people, you know, I weigh 100 kilos, but you know, my grandfather had 5 brothers, and they were all small people. They had like 60 kilos, 62 kilos. And my grandfather really believed what he had was something special. So he wanted to prove how efficient jiu-jitsu is to the world, to people. And the only way to do that is fighting other people. So back in Brazil, they used to go to the newspaper and challenge anyone who would like to have a fight with them, for them to prove that they are, you know, what they have is special. They are the best fighters. And they used to, you know, they got very famous, challenge people and winning. And the whole process started by fighting other people and win. And they create events in Brazil and then they start challenging all the martial artists. Every single martial arts, karate, kung fu, boxing, anything, and they were winning. But the way they were winning is to let the opponent get tired by trying to win, and when they had no energy, and then they easily submitted. And the way that jiu-jitsu is very strong, the only way that you can really overcome someone which is 30 kilos bigger than you is being very close contact and taking the fight to the floor. Otherwise, it's impossible. The strongest person will win. But once you're both grappling, then it's possible for you to overcome a person 30 kilos. And you know, just for you to have an idea, the longest fight they have, it lasts 2 hours and 45 minutes. The guy was much younger, 30 kilos bigger than him. So is a very passionate way of fighting. Jiu-jitsu, you don't need to strike your opponent to win. You win. You can overcome by, you know, chokes and locks, and I mean, and then you know, I don't know if people know the UFC, which is the biggest mixed martial arts event now in the world. It was created by my family to prove the efficiency of jiu-jitsu. And one of my cousins, Royce, and he was fighting, you know, the first 3 and 4. He was fighting everyone, all the different disciplines in martial arts, and he was winning. He was very skinny. He used to get in the cage wearing a kimono, and he shocked the world, because before them, everyone understanding of fighting is stand up and strike, right? If you think about fighting, you're standing up and exchanging striking with your opponent. When you go to the floor, it's like, it's weird to see both people grappling. But that's what they used to do. They became specialists in on the ground fighting, and they, you know, create a revolution into the martial arts. But my family was very big. You know, initially there were 5 brothers. My grandfather had 21 kids. So we have a very long tradition of kids. So, you know, I say I'm not part of a family, I'm part of a clan, you know. It's generations of fighters. And, you know, I grew up in that environment. And, you know, when the family gathers, we're in the mat, you know, fighting and exchanging techniques. And, you know, I became one of them. I dedicated my life to the martial arts, to fighting jiu-jitsu, and, you know, till I decided to stop.
Can you shed some light on the importance of a family business? In many respects, jiu-jitsu was part of your family DNA. Your grandfather started it. You told us about this very expanded, large family, all doing jiu-jitsu. How important it is in terms of achievement to have it in your DNA, part of your blood. Did it help you, or was it maybe an impediment because there was so much competition within the family that you found it hard to practice and excel?
I think it's something that comes out naturally, you know. It's, as far as I can remember, I was training with my cousins, learning from my uncles, my father. So it became very naturally. And with me, actually, I started training seriously late. No one thought I was going to become anything martial arts. I think when I was like around 10, 12, 13 years old, I was a bit of a chubby kid. And even my parents, they never really thought I was going to, you know, become who I became in the martial arts world. But, you know, when I was around 14 years old, I set my mind. I went to spend our holidays with a few of my cousins, my uncles, and when I got back home, I'm like, I'm going to be the best fighter in the world. And, you know, no one really believes me much, you know, like a 14-year-old chubby kid saying he'll be the best in the world. It's like, okay, go train. But, you know, I never gave up, ever. And it's, you know, for me, it was just a choice that I made, and I, you know, dedicated my whole life to it, and to the day I stopped.
This morning, we had Arkady Dvorkovich in the session. He's the chairman of the World Chess Federation. When we boarded our plane to Yerevan in Paris, you were already seated, and I saw you playing chess on your phone. Is jiu-jitsu very similar to chess? What are the commonalities?
It's very similar, but it's funny that I only realized how similar it is very late, on my late 20s, because, you know, you grow up hearing that, fighting and chess are very similar, but I could never really create a connection until I started really playing chess. I mean, I'm far from being good at chess, but it was one of my hobbies. I love to play chess for a hobby. And when you start seeing in chess, you calculate the possible moves, like whatever situation you find yourself in on the chessboard, you can kind of see that, you know, depending on the move you make, the game will go to a different direction. And fighting is the same thing. You know, depends on the move, you see the game going to that direction or the other one. With the fighting is exactly the same, is the same approach. And the checkmate comes once you have a superior control in the board. And jiu-jitsu is the same thing. You get a superior position over your opponent, then the checkmate comes much easier. So it rarely comes from a position of strength on both sides. First, you dominate your opponent, then you apply the checkmate when his options are very limited. And chess are very similar. And so the way to relate that, I know there's an Armenian chess player back in, I think, the mid-90s, was one of the best chess players in the world, and the reason that he was so good, he had a best defense. He never attacked his opponent. He had one of the perfect defense. So so his opponent were attacking him. The moment that they make a mistake, now he calculated on that mistake. And me as a fighter, every fighter has a different styles. But I'm very passive in a way that when I fight, I never start aggressive. I always, regardless of how aggressive my opponent starts, I'm always very passive and warming up and let him make a mistake. So my last fight of my career, I fought. I was already sort of retired, and then there was this other champion, the heavyweight champion, that was dominating the fighting scene, and I decided to fight him as my last fight. He's 10 years young. He's 10 years younger, about 15 kilos heavier, and I used exactly the same strategy. I was very passive in a way that he came very aggressive. The moment that he made a mistake, and then I capitalized that mistake and I won the fight. So, you know, for you to see the similarity of, you know, chess and jiu-jitsu.
Good, good, good. The video is now ready. So as an interlude, we're going to watch it, and then we'll pursue our conversation.
When you're born a Gracie, you're already born under pressure.
Everybody want to be with Gracie, no?
You know, like Bruce Lee, the Gracies are the next revolution of martial arts.
I'm the Lord.
It's time for the family portrait, and that portrait goes to the Gracie family.
Tradition. We give the material, and he built what he was.
Without a doubt, he just wrote one more chapter, you know, a very important one.
So it shows now that there's always some Gracie coming on.
Referee Yuji Shimada calls to halt this bout. 2 minutes, 13 seconds of round number 1. For your winner, by submission, via arm triangle choke. And now, the one light heavyweight world champion, Roджер Գրեյսի!
So, Roger, obviously, the level of physical preparation is stupendous. I mean, you need to be in exceptional form to be able to perform at that level. But can you share with us some insights regarding your mental preparation for these fights and world championships?
Yeah, I think some people, they need to, you know, prepare the mind for it. Some people, they are born with a strong mind, you know, and I think every true champions in their areas, you know, they are born with that type of mind, in my opinion. I think it can be trained, of course, you know, some people, they get psychologists, you know, to strengthen their mind. And some people, they're just born, and I think every true champion is born with that, because there's a quote I watched the other day, I think maybe 3 weeks ago, from the former president of the United States, Trump, and he was saying, for you to really succeed, for you to be great in what you do, you have to deal with pressure. And that for fighting is exactly the same thing. You have to be able to have a strong mind to deal with pressure, to deal with a stressful situation. which in fighting is right at your face. Someone is trying to destroy you. It somehow depends on the fighting style. But that it reflects for any aspect in life in any area. It's regardless of what your area is. If you crack under pressure, you're not going to go forward. You know, those people that, regardless of the situation that they find themselves in or how hard the situation is, if you keep a clear mind to deal and take better decisions at that moment, that's when you can really succeed, you know. So that means you won't make a mistake. So cracking under pressure means making mistakes. It's not taking the best decision that you could at that moment. And I think for me, you know, one of the reasons that I think I got so far was because I was always able to, regardless of the situation I found myself in, I always kept emotions out of it, kept a clear mind, and was able to make the best decision possible.
So you just said that you kept a clear mind, you have always the situation under control, you succeeded in managing your extreme level of pressure. But do you have any tips to share? Did you meditate? Did you go for a walk? Did you practice Zen? What did you do in order to excel at keeping pressure at bay?
So there's a few things that always help me. I always did a lot of visualization. So every time before a match, you know, it's inevitable that your mind keeps thinking of the outcome of the coming match. It's, I think, things you're doing. If you have a business meeting, you before the meeting, your mind will take you to that meeting automatically without you realizing. And until the event happens, you have full control over your mind. So how do you deal with thoughts, right? Where does your thoughts take you? Does it put you into trouble? So every single time I was thinking about my matches coming up, I imagine myself fighting my opponents. And regardless of what happened, I was always winning, always winning. Sometimes your mind plays tricks, you put yourself into trouble, but then you click in and say, no, you overcome that, and then you win the match, and then you win the match. So that I naturally used to visualize weeks before any coming match I had. So that was like extremely helpful because you already won that fight 1,000 times before you step into that ring. So I think that it gives you a strength. And of course, you need to prepare physically because the mind only takes you so far. You know, they say fatigue makes cowards of us all, right? So once your energy goes, then that's it. Your body just not respond. So, you know, physical preparation is very important, but, you know, mentally, believing in yourself is as important as the body.
There is at the moment, particularly in the US, an explosion of coaching schools and businesses. There is even one in Geneva called HINSA that was created by the doctor of Ayrton Senna, who is Brazilian as well, of course, a car driver. 350 people who advise global CEOs, policymakers, heads of state about how the lessons that you learn as a very high-level sportsman or woman can help you make better decisions. So do you have anything to share with our guests in terms of lessons, insights, tips about sleep, food, mental preparation, the necessity of exercising physically, etc.? Any tips that you'd like to share with the audience?
I think something that is very easy, it's, you have to think our body as a machine, right? The brain is part of that machine. So if the better you look after your body, the better your brain will function. It's like exercise and eating healthy. You don't need to be an athlete. The minimum exercise. If you eat basically healthy food, so that means your body function will be better. So you'll be able to take better decisions. That is everyone should do. If everyone should exercise for their health, especially not if they don't think of the body. Think of your mind. It will help make you better decisions. In sleep, I mean, everything is part of it. It's not one thing alone. It will not work. Your nutrition, your food, your sleep, they all combining, and then you get a perfect machine to to take you wherever you want to go.
That's a great conclusion to take us where we want to go. Well, thank you so very much. We would have continued this conversation with great pleasure, but sadly it's now coming to an end. But you are here for the next 24 hours and even more until tomorrow night, so we'll get a chance to talk to you further. And it's a fantastic pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Thierry. Yeah, I mean, I was very pleased to be invited to speak here in the summit with such a great number of personalities. So, it was, you know, for me to speak here, I'm very pleased. And this is my first time in Armenia. I'm having a great time. I didn't create any expectations, so I'm gonna get there and see what what I'll see. And then it's been amazing. It's a beautiful country. I've been traveling around a bit. I've been some churches, very old churches, some monasteries. So it's been having a great experience, because I think that's the only way that we can really discuss ideas, and hopefully from here people will leave with better solutions to make the world better. Because we want to go towards greatness. And the only way to achieve that is if we work together. As long as we are separated, we go to a dark ages. So once we get together and work together, and then we can have a better world.